I was talking to a guy on Discord recently about a bad experience that he had had with toothpaste of all things. Now, this guy hadn't used toothpaste in about a week, and he was worried about the effects of fluoride, which is something that's commonly used inside of toothpaste, on his health. Now, he decided to use toothpaste again after stopping for a week, and he said he felt quite weird afterwards. He felt like he had a bit of a clogged head and couldn't really think straight. And this got me thinking about the sort of hypersensitivity that I've been talking about in a few of my recent videos, with the fact that many chemicals and synthetic things in our environment may have more of an effect on our body than we may realize, but it's just the fact that our body adapts to them, and this means that we can't really live to our potential because our body is so focused on putting energy towards trying to protect itself and putting energy towards getting rid of certain molecules that shouldn't really be inside of us. And this got me thinking more deeply about the effects of fluoride on our health. And one thing I did find was that there is tap water inside many people's. No, there is fluoride inside of many people's tap water system, sorry. And for instance, in America, if you're in Europe, you don't really have to worry about this all that much. But in the USA, there is fluoride in the tap water system there. And while the amount is much, much smaller than the amount inside of commercial toothpastes, I mean, the amount in commercial toothpastes is around 1,000 to 2,000 parts per million compared to the amount of 4 parts per million inside of tap water. It's a much, much smaller amount, but the fact is we swallow this, and this means that it's definitely absorbed into the bloodstream, and there may even be more absorbed into the bloodstream compared to the amount that's used when we use our toothpaste and we brush our teeth and stuff like that. And fluoride can have some adverse effects on our body, especially when taken in large quantities. And this is why there are many warnings on toothpaste saying that you should not swallow the stuff that's on there, because if you do, you may develop things called dental and skeletal fluorosis, which is where your bones get weak and become quite discolored. And along with this, if children use too much fluoride, then their brains can not really develop properly at all, because the fluoride kind of just goes through your bloodstream, goes into your brain, and then sort of stays there, and it's not really supposed to be there at all. And yeah, this is what I mean when synthetic chemicals and stuff like that that are all in our body and shouldn't really be there. But this is only the beginning. Fluoride is one of so many chemicals that shouldn't be in our body and are synthetic and are put in things like toothpaste just so that they can clean our teeth. But this is kind of thought of without the opportunity cost of what other stuff it can do to our bodies. And this is, as I said, fluoride is one of many chemicals, and there are around 700 synthetic chemicals inside of our body, many of which may have little effect, but many of which may have a lot of an effect, and our body may have to adapt to them and protect itself against them and put a lot of energy into stopping these chemicals from having an adverse effect on our body. Microplastics, which are an example of these synthetic chemicals, have been found inside of our bloodstream for the first time in recent years, and it's quite a harrowing thing when you consider that PVC, which is a type of microplastic, is something that's made up, or PVC makes up our water pipes essentially. And while it may not be the same for everyone, some people's water pipes and water systems may still be made out of copper and metals. Many modern water systems are still made out of PVC, and PVC is a toxic and cancer causing chemical that is just, it really shouldn't be in our bodies. And while it may not leach into the water when it goes through the pipes and stuff as potently as something like BPA in plastic water bottles would, it still probably can and may do it there may be one or two microplastic molecules per month or per year. And because PVC is quite hard to get rid of from the body, this one or two molecules per month or per year will end up it will cause a cumulative effect on the body. And yeah, it's really not something that we know much about because we don't really know the long-term effects of all these chemicals. But all these cumulative poisons, they really can't be that good for us, especially when you consider that there are 700 of them. There's definitely going to be one that is quite bad and quite toxic in small enough doses that's in actually able to kind of be inside of our body. And these fluoride and PVCs are just two of 700 chemicals, as I mentioned earlier, and 400 of these 700 chemicals are carcinogens. And a carcinogen means it's a cancer causing chemical, And while it may not be as potent of a cancer-causing chemical, and it may take a long time to cause cancer, it's a carcinogen and a cancer-causing chemical nonetheless. But how then is our life expectancy as a society so damn high if we have 700 toxic chemicals that shouldn't be in our body? How are we living to ages of 80 and 70 if we have PVCs and microplastics in our bloodstream when we would only live to maybe 40 or 50 when we had none of this stuff in our bloodstream when we were like tribal people? But the fact is, sanitation is probably the main thing that's our saving grace when it comes to being able to live longer. Because while these toxic chemicals are bad, things like bacteria and infections, which are still also very, very bad, can probably do a lot more damage than these chemicals, and probably may contain some of these chemicals and these bacteria may release some of these chemicals in the forms of toxins. And so that may be the reason that we kind of have lived as long as we have to 80 and 70, because our hygienic and our increased hygiene in the last few hundreds of years has meant that we've decreased the amount of like bacterial infections and viral infections that we've got. And this means that while we do have a lot of chemicals that shouldn't be there circulating in our body, we don't have constant attacks from other things like bacteria and viruses. And while we've now kind of transferred from having lots of bacteria and viruses to lots of toxic chemicals, it means that the toxic chemicals essentially, it's kind of a better thing to have in our body compared to the like dirt and bacteria that were inside our bloodstream previously. But this also got me thinking that what if both of these were eradicated from our body? Could the average life expectancy of 80 to 70 technically be a lot higher? Could we live to ages like 150, 200 if we just eradicated all of these toxic chemicals from our bloodstream and simply lived like godlike health standards? And yeah, could we live to ages of like 120? Because the amount of people that are living over 100 years old is increasing year by year by year. And one of the reasons is many people who are like the oldest people on earth have said that it's because they have their hormones in check. They don't like have any stress in their life, and this means their cortisol levels are low, and that really reduces the chance of death in a lot of people. And that may be the reason for a lot of older people. And you can reduce your cortisol levels probably by reducing some of the chemicals that are inside of your body that will cause stress on your internal systems. And so maybe we could live to ages of 150, 200 just by biohacking and getting rid of all these chemicals through potentially like weird and unorthodox means, but it could potentially be possible. And I did a lot of research into the fluoride, into the PVCs, and into all the other kind of 700 chemicals that are inside of our body. And it really got me thinking about the whole biohacking thing, which is also kind of popular on the internet. People taking lots of supplements and doing lots of daily habitual routines just so that they can live to ages of 150 and 200. And while it may be quite a long shot, it seems quite an interesting thing. And it's why I think my purpose in life may be changing. Previously, my purpose has been things like working out and studying and building this YouTube channel. And while I really hope to continue building this YouTube channel and providing value to everyone, my purpose still feels like it's a bit off. I feel like a lot of my passions and talents lie in the world of science, and I feel like with all these cancer-causing and toxic chemicals that are currently inside of our bodies and bloodstream, I feel like I could definitely serve a good purpose in helping to get rid of this stuff from society. So with that, I hope you found value out of this video, and I hope you kind of now understand the amount of stuff that's actually kind of affecting us, with a few examples from people that I know. And with that, I recommend subscribing, because I like this community of young tribal people who are willing to improve themselves so much more than they already have, and good luck.